Hi, you guys. It is your girl Trisha checking back in. Yes, how have you guys been? Welcome back to the channel. It is good to just be on here. I know I've been off for a minute, but your girl had some stuff I had to take care of outside of here, so I'm back. And along with that, about this channel, we are on here as an advocate for change, an advocate for God, an advocate for breaking free from anything that you feel crushed your spirit and needing that upliftment. Yes, that's why your girl's here as a community advocate. So, with that being said, not only do I do one on ones, but I'm also the founder of Let's Direct Our Own Path, where we do one on ones. At this present moment, I am working on trying to build some courses so that um I'm able to also tailor the ones who just maybe only want to purchase the course. And it's something that it's still like a one-on-one, but it's also with me having the clips and the work that goes with it so that you are still able to persevere. So stay tuned and look out for that as well. I also have linked my other page, which links you to um my Let's Director page where I do just do little short clips as I'm building that. So that will also be linked below for you if that is something you want to check out. That's there. And again, I left my email. So if you do want to get in contact with me, that is also there as well too. But what I want to talk to you guys today about was something that as I just had a chance today to go through my day, doing my self care, making sure that my daughters had their self care moment day. Um, I learned that sometimes you need to recognize the answer prayers, even if it's coming through pain. I often tell anybody who know me that my slogan is play through the pain, right? But I also want to remind people at the same time recognizing the answer prayers in the pain because sometimes we don't really take that time out to recognize it. And sometimes when God is answering our prayers, we don't always associate that with Him removing people. Sometimes he removed people and things out of your life at that moment because it could be a hindrance or understanding why he closed doors or you having to start new chapters in life. And we're like, we look at those things or we look at like the discomfort that happens in the midst of our growth. And so then we turn around and we be like, God, why? And in this present moment, he was like, stop asking me why. That's what he said. He said, "Stop asking me why." And he said, "Instead, ask me the right question." And I was like, "What is that right question?" And he said, "Start asking me to show you, to show you why I had to close certain doors, to show you why I had to remove certain people, to show you why you had to get uncomfortable inside of certain areas of growth." He said, because those are the areas where it was hindering you. And he's like, in this season, he really don't want us to look at the hindrance. And I was like, well, that makes sense. And I was like, okay, but why? Because I was still in my why moment when he was calling me out of it. And one of the things he said is that, and we know that in all things God works for the good of those who love him. He said, so if you know that I'm working for the good of those who love me, he said, then you should know if I'm closing the door, if I'm removing people, if I'm making the discomfort happen. He said it's because of his purpose that he has over our life, not so much as the purpose that we want, because he often let us know that his thoughts is not our thoughts, and his ways are not our ways. So he said that we need to be able to understand when he declares something, meaning God, when he declares something, he said, I'm going to see you all the way through to the other side. Most times we get discouraged on that other side, right? And I was like, okay, if I'm going to get discouraged in this side, if I'm going to be doing all of this, I'm like, give me a meaningful meaning of this process of what we're doing. And in the midst of today, he said, you have to embrace the process. He said, you have to fully embrace this process. He said, not just the outcomes that you're seeing. He said, embrace the process. He said, because growth is uncomfortable. He said, it's uncomfortable. But he said, you have to understand that sometimes in my pruning, for something that's greater than who you think you are at this moment in time, he said it's going to come with some delays. It's going to come with some rejections. It's going to come with some hardships in those positions. And he said, all of this is just for me to get you divinely aligned with me. He said, so do not get discouraged in this. He said, but just consider it. If I'm pruning you, it's out of pure joy for you. He said, it might seem like chaos to you. He said, but just know that it, for me, this is pure joy. Mm, yeah. He said, because then he can hear the chains breaking. He can hear you rising up despite of. He said he know that with the spirit he got inside of you, that if you fall, he know the spirit he gave you, you gonna rise again. And he said, and each time you risen, you were able to get stronger and stronger and stronger. He said, so whenever you're faced with so many trials and tribulations of all kinds, he said that's because he knows that his testing of your faith is going to produce your perseverance in this season. He said he knows it's going to do that. He said, and then you got to understand that sometimes when he's cutting off the branches that bear no fruit in your life, don't get mad. Don't be sad. He said it's just the same way if you are like me and you do landscaping or gardening or have plants in your house. When you start seeing some of the leaves and everything fall off, you have to break them off because it's sucking up nutrients that the healthy plants can actually use. So you break them off. And he said it's the same way he got to do with the things that's in your life when he's trying to get you to your divine calling in life, when he's trying to get you to your divine purpose in life. And he said, and then when he see the branches that's remaining that bears fruit, he said he has to prune that back. He said now that he got the healthy pieces all intact, he said now he let him prune that back. He said because it bared little fruit. He said, but he's trying to get you to a point where it can bear more fruit and be more fruitful. He said when he's trying to get you into your fruitful season, yes, it's uncomfortable. Yes, it's gonna come with some opposition. He said, but in this present moment is where he's trying to get you because he's trying to get you to maximize the fruit. He said the fruit that you had in one season might have reached so many people. He said, but if you let him give you this fruit in this season, he said he's trying to maximize it to the point where you're going to be able to multiply that and that is going to be able to be more plentiful for more people. And he said, and that's where he's trying to get you into your abundancy season. He said, but you got to allow him to get you there in this season. He said that's why he tells so many of us day in and day out. He said, come to me, come to me. He said, I'm calling each and every one who is willing to sit with me, who's willing to catch this Holy Ghost with me, who's willing to partner in the spirit with me. He said, because I got so much that I want to show you. He said, but I also got some stuff that I need you to get rid of in the process in order for us to maximize the moment. Woo! I hope y'all are ready to maximize y'all moment. If y'all are ready to maximize y'all moment in this season, I just say put it in the comments. Let your girl know that you're here. Yes, drop some heart emojis. He said because you get to this moment when you walking with him in your obedience. And he said even though you walking in his obedience, even if it doesn't make sense to you, he said that he often have to let us know that some things you got to let go of and you just got to trust his process. He said even when it's painful, because he said your obedience in this season will unlock blessings. And the more that you surrender in this season, he said he's able to reveal himself to you. He's going to be able to reveal himself in you. So he said, trust in me with all your heart. He said, put me all the way in your heart, trust in me with all your heart. And he said, and lean not in this season on your own understanding, but he said, if you will lean into him, he said, if you will lean into him, he said that he will make that crooked path straight. He will make it. He said, just lean all the way over here to me. And he said, then he will direct your path in this season. He said, but it's up to you if you're going to let him direct your own path in this season. And I wrote something, you guys, while I was sitting there letting the girls have their day. What did I say when I just read this? Oh, I said, you know what? I said, in this moment in your life, I had to ask myself, and it was, what prayers in your life did God answer in my pain? And when I was looking back over my life to understand what answer, as I prayed over my brokenness, that he started to move in me. And I was like, you know what? I said, God, I thank you that in this season of my life that you went back and started healing that 7-year-old version of me that I didn't even know was needing to be healed or called out in this season. And you sometimes will get to a point in your life that you're like, hey, I got this, I understand this. And to be honest, we don't. And when I had got to that point, I was like, wow, this is so interesting. I'm just trying to go back because it was something that really stood out to me. But I was like, in this season, when he's calling us to break chains and rise, you have to understand that you're going to get to a moment in your life where it could be someone or something that takes your heart through its last tear. At some point in your life, you have to be able to know when you're walking in obedience and when you understanding that things in life just do not make sense. And that you keep pushing. Well, what my mama used to say, you beat a dead horse. But you get to this point in life where nothing actually fully makes sense, and to the point where all of your patience, all of your understanding, sometimes all of your wisdom, everything is being put on trial and it's being tested. Like friends turning into foes, lovers turning into enemies. And you go, what is this? What is this? What is this? And what I learned is when God is trying to answer a prayer, he has to let that last tear that's down in your heart happen. So when you have someone or something that comes in and for a moment it could be something that sets you so far on high, it was enough that you were able to open up, sit your shield down for a moment. And it's usually, if you ever had wrong done to you in life or you done someone wrong, you normally will keep a shield up over your heart because you will say to yourself, no one could ever get this close. Because as I grew up and as I had to look at what my position was as a child in my family, I've always had to be the pleaser, or I always had to be the one who they dumped their problems on, or I was always the one who felt unseen, unheard. And so you develop this relationship with anybody and everything, and to the point where that becomes your title. But God said at some point you have to, you will get to a point in your life where enough is enough. He said when you get to enough is enough and you know that you're worth more, he said that last tear then has to happen. He said, but when that last tear happened, you realize you pouring out your heart, your love, everything is just pouring out. And he said, and when you get to a point where it's just pouring out and you can no longer put a patch over it, you can't no longer just cover it up, you can't no longer just hide this pain, you can no longer hide this deceit, you can no longer hide these things. He said, instead it's just pouring out. He said, that is what he was waiting on. He said, I was waiting on these poured out moments. He said, because that is the moment where I know you have no choice but to surrender because the pain is too great. And he said, it's so great that it could have wiped you out. He said it could have been your last defining moment. He said, but just like us, when somebody, as me as a nurse, he said, if I seen somebody who was critically bleeding, the blood is just pouring out. He said, not only do we have to stop it, sometimes we got to give these people blood transfusions. He said, but instead of a blood transfusion in this season, he said he gave you his love transfusion. He said, he said he took the pain and he gave you his love. He said because he know the kind of strength he got inside of you. He know what kind of power he put inside of you. He said, so in this season, he said, I gave you a dose of my love. He said, I transfused it into my love. And he said, and when I transfused it into my love, he said, now when we're in the you had to go through recovery. He said the recovery, your transformation. He said that's your recovery season. He said in that season, he said it was so critical that the things that you heard, the things that you had to study, the way that you had to come to me, the faith that I had to put in you, the faith that you had to receive. He said in the knowingness that I had to put inside of you. He said that is because you were walking in his obedience. And he said it didn't even make sense. But he said the more you got with me, the more you said with me, he said, now the more I was able to reveal to you who I am and who you are and who you become. And he said, that's why he tells us to trust in him, to trust in him. He said, that's why I tell you to bring your heart to my operating table. He said, because he said, most times we try to put patches over, we try to sew it back together. He said, no, baby, I'm giving you a whole heart transplant. He said, I had to transplant that brokenness. He said, he said, the broken pieces. He said, yes. He said, I was so happy you brought me that. He said, because I needed that. He said he needed an exchange. He said, so many of us, we come, we are empty. He said, but this time when we came to him, we came because it was just pouring out. And we asked him, what do we do with the pouring out of our hearts? He said, it ain't leaking. It ain't leaking where you can just pat. He said, no, this time it's pouring out. He understood it was a a critical position in your life. He said this was so critical that he had to do a transplant. Mm. He said he wanted you to understand, blessed, blessed are those who hear his word and obey it. He said, blessed are you when you heard the call and when you heard it. He said, because that is the point. He said, when you get that broken, he said, you know how easy it is for you to go back into your self-sabotaging ways where you can go back and put yourself on clearance. He said, where you can go back and get drunk or go find a way to get high, to go party, go be around them same people who was trying to crucify you, who put you up on your own cross. He said, do you know how easy it is for you to go back? Because that some pain is better than no pain. He said, but in this season, he said, give me you. He said, if you don't want to do anything else in this season, he said, give me you. He said, so I could shift your perspective in this season. He said, because what I'm doing is going to happen for you. Not to you, but for you. He said, if you sit with me, what I'm doing in your life, it's because I'm making it happen for you. It said, he said, what looked like a loss was actually protection. He said, it looked like a loss to you. You were sitting over there crying about the, he said, but just wait, baby. He said, just wait, wait. He said, I'm protecting you. He said, you don't know what kind of betrayal you about to walk into if you head down this road. He says, you don't even know what kind of setback you would have got. Are you crazy? He said, are you crazy? He said, the hardship that I'm going to put you through versus what you were trying to cry over. He said, baby, sit with me. He said, sit with me because your love, everything is pouring out so hard. He said, baby, sit with me. He said, I want you to take all of this that you poured out. He said, now pour it into me. He said, pour it into me. He said, because when you get in this room with me, he said, I need your buck naked. He said, get naked in this season. He said, he said, and don't be ashamed. Don't be ashamed. He said, haven't you got naked for less? He said, haven't you? He said, baby, we are in a whole intimacy moment. He said, I need you to come up in this thing naked. He said, I need you naked. He said, because it's something I'm trying to put up on you. And he said, and I don't want you to be covered when you come to me. He said that's why the heart. He said that's why that last tear had to happen. He said because he needed you as naked as they come. He said because then he's able to see exactly what you need. He was able to see exactly where you were torn at. He could see exactly where he needed to put some confidence in you at. He said, I needed to see exactly where I needed to humble you at. And I had to put some boundaries in you that no man can shake. Yeah. He said, because in this season, he wanted you to know what they intended for to harm you. He said, oh, no, 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 not in this season, baby. He said, when they intended to harm you, God said, no, I intended it for my good. He said that I have to accomplish what is being done right now. He said, there are things in this earth I need you to do right now with this heart posture. He said, but the only way I can get you here is if I can get it broken open. He said, stop looking at this pain as something that was going to paralyze you. He said, stop looking at this as a brokenness. He said, no, baby. He said, in this season, what I am calling you for is to be a light. He said, I want this moment. He said, sometimes you have to know where X marked the spot. He said, because in that moment, he said, I'm happy that you called on me versus calling on anybody else or calling to tell somebody about your plans. For one of the things that he had led me to today was Romans 8:14. He said, for those who are led by the Spirit of God are the child of God. The spirit you receive does not make you a slave so that you live in fear again. Rather, the spirit you received brought about your adoption to sonship, meaning he when you went to him this naked, he said it brought about his sonship. And by him we cry, Abba, meaning Father. The Spirit Himself testified with our spirit that we are God's children. He said, when you get to this point where you are pouring out your love, when you are bleeding, he said, when you are bleeding out this heavy, he said, you should be reminded of when they punctured him to make sure that he was dead. He said, remember when they punctured my rib and my blood poured? He said, it poured out. He said, we got to understand. He said, you might have been a slave to this thing in this one season. He said, but you will no longer be a slave once you called out to me the way that you called out. He said, that had to let you go. He said, it had to let you go the way you had to call out to me. He said, and when your spirit called out to me, the way that it called out, and when you finally was able to project your voice, when you were finally able to lift up your hands, when you were finally able to drop to your knees, when you were able to finally say enough is enough and something got to change. Oh, he said, baby, my spirit and your spirit, it collided. And he said, and one thing that we did was we came in a partnership about this and we understood that it was no more. He said, oh, no, no, no. He said, baby, now you got some sonship with me. He said, I'm going to testify as you testify and that we both understand that this is no longer. This is no longer. He said, now that we were able to set up some boundaries. He said, now we are able to move forward. Now we're able to establish a real relationship. He said, because one of the things he wants you to know is to stay close to him in this season. He said, not just when you need him, but he said, when you had to get down like this, he said, I wanted to have an undefined, excuse me. He said this was our defining moment for our relationship. He said, because when you got down there with the heart that you had in the heart position that you were in, and you knew that you were crying the way that you were crying, you were broken the way that you were broken. Oh, he said, oh, no, no, no. He says, baby, stay close to me. He said, because the person I'm about to make you into, the person that I need you to become, the person that I see who's standing in front of me right now, he said, baby, stay in my presence. He said, keep praying, keep worshiping, keep seeking me. He said, even when things are going well in your life, he said, you stay right here with me. He said, I need you to keep this same level of faith, this same level of faith that you had to come to me at this very moment when you thought all bets was off. He said, I need you to stay right there. He said, because the same God who you called into that storm, will be the same God who sustained you in his promise. He said, all you got to do is stay right there. He said, seek the Lord and his strength, seek his presence constantly, continuously, right every moment. He said, pray without ceasing. He said, look for me, search for me day in and day out. Because he said, one moment I could be over here. He said, the next moment I might be over here. He said, but if you are praying and ceasing and praying for all things in this season, he said, baby, then I know you right here with me. He said, because the things that we are up against in this season, he said, I don't want you to go anywhere else but to me for. He said, because everything that you're seeking, he said, first, you got to come to my kingdom. He said, first come to my kingdom and understand my righteousness. And he said, all these things that you searching for, that you crying for, he said, then these things will be added to you. Then I will be able to give it to you. Then I will be able to let you see exactly why you couldn't have the things that you were crying for. He said, because you wasn't looking at it as my protection. He said, it's funny that we keep thinking that he said, we don't take precedence over him. He said, because our ways is not his ways. He said, but once you understand that, you're able to move differently and you will be able to walk like you already won. He said, because you got to understand where he's trying to get you to is where you are not just surviving. He said, that you're not just surviving what was meant to break you. He said, but now you are going to be walking in your confidence and knowing God has already worked these things out. He said, everything that you cried over, everything that you thought you lost. He said, baby, no, no, no. He said, I need you to move a little differently in this season. He said, I need you to walk like you already know you won. He said, because in this season, he needs you to know no weapon formed against you shall prosper. He said, the weapons gonna form. Oh, the people gonna come. Oh, the chatter and all of this. He said, all of this stuff is gonna come in the midst of it where somebody gonna be like, oh, girl, I told you this, or oh, boy, I told you that. He said, but in this season, he said, you got to understand, let me fight for you. He said, let me fight. He said, in this season, you need to stand still and watch the salvation of the Lord. He said, in this season, this is your season that you're going to stand still. He said, for the Lord your God is the one who goes with you to fight for you against your enemies, to give you victory. That's in Deuteronomy 24. He said, for the Lord your God is the one who goes with you to fight for you against your enemies, to give you victory. In this season, he said, this is your victory season. He said, this is the season when I had you step all the way fully into who you were divinely called to be. He said, we had to go through training. And anybody who's rocking with me, I already told you, your training sometimes that take anywhere from 90 to 120 days for you to get a transformation that he's trying to put into you. He said, now when you look back over your past, he said, now I want you, when you look back there and you see how far you have gone, and you have looked back there and it said that hurted you 120 days ago, that hurted you over 200 days ago. He said that hurt today don't feel the same, do it? He said you'd establish a whole new relationship. You've established a whole new understanding of who I am. He said, and when you get into these kind of moments, he said, now these are your defining moments. He said, these defining moments let you know how much further you can go. He said, when you get up here, you see the different level of your confidence, the way that you carry yourself, the way that you glow, the way that you understand, the way that you receive your love back. He said, and it ain't the same, is it? He said, no, because his love is gentle. His love is not confusion. He said, the enemy tries to confuse you. He said, but I'm not your enemy, baby. He said, I'm your teammate. He said, when you partner with me for the good, he said, I'm your teammate. I show you how to move. I show you my understanding. He said, I open your eyes to things you were privy to in the past. He said, but instead, in this season, he said, let me level you up. He said, and let me level you up in my way because your way wasn't working. He said, it got you so far, but he said, in this season, I'm trying to excel you. He said, that's why he had to prune us in this season. That's why he had to prune you back in this season. He said, because when you go out and you have your next bloom, and he said, you will see your fruit and you will see how much it multiplies. He said, I just want to multiply you, baby. He said, let me multiply you. If this is your season that you know that God is trying to multiply, you put it in the comments, say, multiply me, God, multiply me. Because in this season, he said, once you're able to multiply your fruit, when you're able to go beyond what you thought your limit was, he said, now you're going to be able to help others see how to grow their fruit. And he said, once you've overcame and once you reach your level and understood fully how to cultivate it, he said, now you're able to reach back and encourage someone else to come on up here, to share the testimony, to be help for others, to give them a practical tool to see that God shifts you, that God is faithful, that God works when things don't even make sense. He said, baby, they're going to look at you and see. He said, let them see. He said that your fruit changed, that you triumphant over all the things that was supposed to break you. But tell them it was by the Lamb of God, by the blood of the Lamb of God. Ooh, that he moves you anyway, that he pushes you up anyway. You tell them all this stuff that you ain't equipped for, and God said, don't tell me what you are. I made you. I formed you. I knew you before you were in your mama's belly. He said, I knew you. He said, don't tell me what you will and you won't do. He said, because I formed you. He said, oh, I know you were ratchet. He said, I know all these things. He said, so you ain't got to remind me of who you are. He said, you doing that to remind yourself. He said, but when you stepped into his spirit, he said, baby, I renamed you. He said, did you catch the name that I gave you? Do you know who you're marked by when you call on me? He said, because can nothing step over me. He said, I am God and I am God alone. He said, and nothing that I created is greater than me. He said, and when you get out of your flesh and you step into the spirit, he said, you would know you have no bounds. You have no limitations. He said, when you start feeling limitations because you're in your flesh, he said, step out of your flesh so you can see that there's no boundaries put on anything. He said, if you say that this is what you want, he said, do you got the faith to go after what you say you wanted? He said, when you tell me this is what he said, do you have the faith? Do you have the faith to go get it? He said, because if you got the faith to go get it and you partner with him in the spirit, he said, ain't no limit on him. He said, don't put no limit on him. He said, the only person who putting limits on something is your flesh, on man. Man put limits on man. He said, but he don't work like that. So he said, what he going to do for you is, he said, encourage yourself. He said, encourage yourself. And he said, and when you believe, and when you get to the point of believing who he is, he said, don't believe in the God that everybody put off onto you. He said, but when you believe in the God that's inside of your heart, when you finally believe it, he said, then you exercise it, walk it out, work it. And when you felt like you worked it, he said, now go and encourage others. He said, now go and encourage others of who I am and exactly how they can help, how they can heal. He said that's what he calls us to do. He said he gets us to a point where we are able then to help others. Yeah. So in this season, he said, walk upright. Walk upright in him. He said he is here. He said, but if you walking upright with him in this season, why he didn't shifted the atmosphere, when he didn't put a demand on our spirit, when he didn't made us have to break chains. He said, when I'm calling you out of a season where you felt unseen, unheard, where you felt like everything was weighing down on you like bricks. He said, when your back was so far against the wall, you didn't know if you were coming or going. When all you had enough strength was to go to work and come home. He said, in those moments when you back and forth like this, he said, stay encouraged. He said, stay encouraged in me. He said, because I'm moving in mighty ways. And he said, the only way you're going to get so mighty and so strong and to understand this endurance, he said, is if you came and sat with me. He said, because I had a message for you. And he said, right now, when I'm trying to revolutionize something, he said, if you came and sat with me in this spirit, he said, you're going to understand exactly where I'm taking you. He said, so cry out to me and humble yourself in this season. He said, because your trumpets is sounding. Your sound has already went out. He said, and I already went in the rooms that I needed you to walk into. He said, is you bold enough to walk in them yourself? Ooh, yeah. In this season, he said, I'm leveling you up. He said, what I have for you is just for you. And he said, one of the things you got to understand, he said, can nobody do you like nobody can do you like you. He said in this season, he don't care if somebody trying to imitate you. He don't care if somebody trying to copy you. He said you better take that as confirmation that what you speaking is the truth. He said because when his father started making utterance on your behalf, he said the sound went out. He said when the father said that right there, that's mine. That's branded. That's marked. Mark that. He said, can nobody mess with that? He said that you are in the friend. You in his friend zone. He said, and when somebody do want to mess with it, he said they got to come to him for permission to sift you. Yeah, baby. He said, remember one thing. He said, remember that whenever you in that fire, your faith still got to be on him. He said, in season, out of season, do you believe in me? Will you trust in me? Will you let me guide you? He said, would you allow me to come in? Y'all, I am telling y'all, one of the things that he told me today is recognizing the answered prayers in the pain. He says sometimes we get into a point in our life that not only are we in our joyous moments, he said, but I want you to also reflect that I brought you out of this. He said, the pain that you once went through, the healing that I had to heal you from. He said, I want you to remember this moment. He said, X marks the spot. He said, I need you to mark this spot because he said, whenever your back is against the wall, whenever something is trying to test you the way that it's trying to test you, he said, I want to let you know the boundary I had to put up. The heart surgery. He said, I needed you to know the heart surgery that we had to go through. He said, because we will not be moved. We will not be shooken in this season. He said, this is your season when you standing so tall and so strong that nothing can move you. He said, ain't nothing gonna move you unless you move. He said the only way something can condemn you if you allow it to. He said he knows what you've been through. He said he knows that they're going to try to throw something else at you. He said, but let them throw it. He said, let them throw it. Because he forgot he who had no sin could throw the first stone. He said, but if they throwing stones and they know they didn't sin too, he said, baby, let vengeance be mine. He said, you stand up out the way and you continue to do my work. He said, but you let vengeance be mine. He said, he said, let me take care of him in this season. He said, because for the rest of us who understand that the opportunity is now, that your time is now, he said, continue to do my work. He said, I'm going to take care of the ones who want to be out here doing the ruler of this world work, the ruler of this world, that his little minions. He said, you watch on out the way. He said, I got them. I got them in this season. He said they just was there to try to distract you. He said, don't let the minions distract you in this season. He said, I handle them. He said, you continue to get your head in my books and you understand my ways. And he said, and you continue to persevere in this season. He said, because baby, I got something. He said, I got something exactly for you. And he said, continue to level up. He said, because one thing you ain't finna do is let somebody run you out of your town. He said, can you stand? He said, can you stand? He said, can you stand the weight that I'm about to drop upon you in this season? He said, can you stand? Oh, I don't know what's going, whatever he about to drop on y'all in this season, I want y'all to know, he said it's heavy. He said heavy. He said heavy. He said what he dropping on you in this season is heavy. And he said we needed to be reminded right now of where we came from and the pain that you had to endure to get to this spot. He said, because right now the stronghold is so tied into something that broke you at some point in your life. He said, but right now he needs you to untie that knot. He said, I need you to untie because I need you to push past it. He said, this is your push past season. He said, it's your break it. He said, this is the season you're breaking off that last little piece. He said, it ain't that you ain't got it in you. He said, but this is the moment where it's all tangled. It's all tangled. It's all knotted up. He said, we got to unbind that. He said, because those is the principalities that was set up on you. And he said, and right here is where most of your family gave up. This is where most of your friends gave up. This is where you didn't find the mentorship at. This is where you didn't find the help at. This is where you felt like shrinking. This is the moment. He said, this is right here, this moment. He said, this is when most people feel all that pressure and they flee. And he said, they run. He said, but remember that pain that you felt when that last heartbreak happened, that last thing that happened in you. He said, remember that and how you had to push past it to me. He said, this is the same moment. He said, you just got to shoot off. He said, come to me, but you keep that same level of faith. He said, this is the shoot off moment. He said, because what I'm about to do is so mighty that you're going to need that same level of faith so I could rise you up above that too. And in this season, y'all, God said, humble yourself. He said, because it's the same thing. It's going to be presented in a different way. But this time he said he gave you some boundaries. This time he said he gave you some strength. He said this time he gave you momentum. And most of all, he said he gave you understanding so that you can have wisdom. And he said, and when you forget of it, he said, when you forget all of that, he said, remember who team you on. Ooh. He said, remember who team you on. And he said, and if you're yoked with him in this season, he said, then he got the rest of the way. You just got to let him walk it out for you, baby. Ooh. Yes, he did. He said, let him walk it out the rest of the way. He said, because his glory will reign. And he said, his victory will reign. He told me something else too. And when I find it, I'm going to let y'all know what he told me. Mm-hmm. Yes, yes, yes. What did he tell me? He said, and where is it at? In Romans, well, as I was, y'all know where your girl was at. But in Romans 28, he said, and we know that all things God, and we know that all things God work for the good of those who love him, who have been called according to his purpose. For those God foreknew, he also predestined to be conformed to the image of his son, that he might be the firstborn among many brothers and sisters. And those he predestined, he also called. And those he called, he also justified. And those he justified, he also glorified. He said, baby, when you're stepping into your glorifying season, he said, don't back down. This is your season. He said, if this is what you've been praying for, and this is what you've been asking for, and he said, and then on top of that, he told you this is your divine calling. He said, baby, step into this boldly. He said, step into this. And he said, don't back down. Don't second guess it. He said, walk this out. This is your season. This is your glory. And if y'all do not believe me, he said, get in his word. He said, get in his word and test and see. He said, test and see that I'm good. He said, test and see. And if y'all are confused about anything and you don't want to really do it, go watch my other video. I'm going to link it below. That I told you that if you're not going to do it, then you have to have you a Deborah who going to be able to prophesy to you, and a Janelle who is going to be able to take up what you won't do. In this season, ooh, he said, if you ain't going to do it, you got to understand somebody else will. He said, so are you willing to answer the calling over your life? Again, you guys, it is your girl, Trisha, checking back in with y'all. If this video is something that resonated with you, you guys drop it in the comments. Let me know how it resonated with you. But he said in this season, he said, this is, you were about to walk through some doors. you didn't know you were finna walk through. He said in this season, he's finna unleash some things in you that you didn't know what was up in you. He said, but remember, he said one thing he wanted you to look back is remember that some of those painful moments and the way that he had to deliver you out of it, the way that he had to have you maneuvering up out of it. He said, because you were in training. He said your training is now going to be put into practice. It's the same way when you were in school. He said you had to go through you some prerequisites in order to get into your major. He said, baby, you're stepping into your major. And as you're stepping into your major, he hopes that you can recall the lessons that he had given you. Yes. Because you need to pass your tests. He said, baby, he do not want you to do a Moses and keep walking around your same mountain talking about you don't he said we are not you're not being called to walk around around your mountain. He said instead you see your promised land. He said step into your promised land. Don't let nobody run you off. He said he didn't equip you. He didn't gave you your team. He didn't gave you. He said whatever else you need, as long as you are in his kingdom, he will provide for you. He said, but don't let nobody run you up out of your land. That is your land. He said, when you walk into your land, as long as you have your faith, as long as you believe that that's yours, and he told you you can have it, he said, don't change it. He said, because if you change your faith and you change your mind, you are a double-minded man. And he said, one thing he told y'all is a double-minded man is unstable in all his ways. He said, are you unstable? He said, are you unstable? He said, because if you think that you're unstable, then you need to sit down somewhere and let him finish working on you. He said, because then there's still some things up in your heart and up in your mind that he needs to still clear out. He said, he don't want you double-minded when he's called you to step into this. He said, so if you step in, he said, then step, because you got to know one thing about my father is, hey, he's a stepper. He said, what's up? He said, if you read me, he said, you know what? He says it's time and a season for it. It's time for love. It's time for war. He said, what's up? You about it or not? But anyway, y'all, I will be on here. Because I haven't been on here for a while. But it is your girl Trisha. Again, I'm gonna link a few things down at the bottom. So if you are feeling led, if you are feeling called, go ahead, email me, drop a comment. And most of all, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share, because even if this video didn't edify you, it is there to help somebody. And the more that you double tap, the more that you like this video, it is able to reach those who really need the help, who really need the service. So again, don't forget to like, comment, and share. It is your girl, Trisha, again, checking back in, and I'll catch you guys in the next video.